In 2 days, the Indiana Fever are supposed to walk Caitlin Clark out onto a national television stage, and right now, they may not have her to walk out at all. Wednesday night, she went down, back injury, 5 minutes left in the third quarter, and she did not come back. No whistle on the play that put her there, just contact, and then their best player on the floor and out for the night. And in that exact same stretch of hours, the league office made a quiet decision of its own. It chose to let something stand. We'll get to what. Here's the part worth sitting with. Buried in what the league told reporters this week is one choice nobody's circling yet. Read it twice, because it tells you exactly how much they're willing to spend to protect her. And the answer, this week, was nothing. Caitlin Clark put this league on the map. 2 years ago, half the country couldn't name a single WNBA player. Now they're selling out arenas she's never even played in. But good feelings don't stop a non-call. They don't rescind a penalty, and they don't keep your biggest star standing when the people in charge decide she isn't worth the trouble. The woman who runs all of it is Cathy Engelbert. She has been the commissioner of the WNBA since 2019, 7 years at the top of the league. Her office is the one that adjudicates technical fouls. Her office reviews discipline, decides what stands and what gets wiped, and signs off on the calls that shape a season. And her office is the one putting Caitlin Clark on national television this Saturday, in the middle of the richest media era this league has ever had. Remember that. The same office that profits every time her name is on a broadcast is the office that just made the call we're about to walk through. And the timing makes it sharper. This is the same stretch where the league is cashing in on her in every direction it can. Her name sitting near the very top of the All-Star fan vote, her face on the marquee broadcast, her jersey in every arena. The machine around Caitlin Clark has never been busier. The protection around her just went the other way. So let's walk through it. Wednesday, June 24th, the Indiana Fever hosts the Phoenix Mercury at home, and it's a hard night before anything even goes wrong. Phoenix wins it, 111-109, a 2-point Fever loss. Kalia Copper goes off for 28, mostly from the free throw line. Alyssa Thomas posts 24 and 8. But the score isn't the story. The story is what happened to Clark in the third quarter. 19 points, 8 assists, 20 minutes on the floor. And then, with 5:15 left in the third, she goes down with a back injury and does not return, ruled out for the rest of the night. Now here's where it gets uncomfortable for the people who run this league, because of how she went down. During a tussle for the ball, while Clark was already going to the floor, Alyssa Thomas made contact to the neck area, while Clark was already down. No foul was called on the play. None. The cheap shots that weren't called, those aren't my words. Those are her own coach's words said to reporters that same night. And we'll get to exactly what Stephanie White said in a minute, because it matters. But hold on to the shape of this. Best player in the league, on the floor, going down. Contact that doesn't get whistled. And then she's gone for the night, 2 days before the showcase the league built around her. Now, I want to be careful here, because there's a version of this story flying around online that runs way past what anyone can actually prove. Wild claims about what exactly happened in that pile, about intent, about things nobody on the floor confirmed. I'm not going there, and you shouldn't either. What's solid is narrow, and it's enough. There was contact to the neck area while Clark was already down, there was no whistle, and her own coach called it 2 cheap shots that weren't called. Stick to what's real. What's real is bad enough. Now move to the second decision, the one that turns a bad night into a pattern. The same week, the league office made its choice about Caitlin Clark's technical foul. Back on Monday, in the game against Phoenix and Connecticut's Bonner, Clark had picked up a technical for clapping, for what the officials called instigating. Clapping. That technical was reviewable. The league could have looked at it and wiped it. Plenty of techs get rescinded. It happens all the time when the league decides a call went too far. On Wednesday, the same day Clark was carried out of a game on a non-call, the league announced it would not rescind that technical. The tech stands, and here's why that number matters. It's her 5th of the season. At 8, a player gets an automatic 1-game suspension. So the league didn't just decline to do her a favor, it moved her one step closer to being suspended for clapping. In the same 24 hours, its officials let an uncalled hit drive her off the floor. That's the decision this whole thing turns on. Not the league doesn't care. Not some vague complaint about how nobody protects her. a specific, dated, on-the-record choice the commissioner's office actively made on June 24th. We reviewed it, and we're letting it stand. They had a reviewable call in front of them, and they chose the version that hurts her. And the person who said it out loud wasn't a fan or a pundit. It was her own head coach. Stephanie White stood at the podium after that game and didn't hedge a word of it. Her exact words, "We have a generational talent and WNBA superstar who had 2 cheap shots right there that weren't called. Absolutely unacceptable." She called the officiating egregious. Egregious. That's a head coach, on the record the same night, telling everyone watching that the people paid to protect her players didn't. Think about what that takes. Coaches get fined for saying a fraction of that about officials. White said it anyway because she watched it happen to the best player her franchise has ever had and decided the fine was worth it. That's not a fan theory about the league failing Clark. That's the receipt, signed by the one person standing closest to her. Now put the 2 pieces side by side, because together they're the whole story. 1. An uncalled hit drives Caitlin Clark out of a game with a back injury 2 days before her national TV showcase. 2. That same week, the league office reviews her technical and chooses to let it stand, pushing her closer to a suspension for clapping. The same office, the same week, the same player. Step back for a second and remember how thin the league's case for ignoring her really is. When Caitlin Clark arrived, she didn't just join the WNBA, she rebuilt its audience. Television numbers that hadn't moved in years suddenly doubled and tripled when she was on the floor. Road arenas that used to sit half empty started selling out for one player. The league's own broadcast deals, the national windows, the primetime slots, those exist in their current form, in large part because a generational guard out of Iowa turned a regional sport into appointment television. That's the player the commissioner's office had in front of it this week, and it chose the version of the week that hurts her. And then comes Saturday. This Saturday, the 27th, the Indiana Fever are scheduled to host the Los Angeles Sparks on CBS, a national broadcast, the kind of marquee window the league fought to get on a major network. It's the game built to show off the WNBA's biggest draw to the widest possible audience. And her status for it is in doubt. She was ruled out Wednesday. She's battled a back issue all season. As of right now, the league could be walking into its own national showcase without the one player the whole broadcast was built around. Nobody's promising she'll miss it, but nobody can promise she'll be cleared either. And that's the position the league put itself in. Sit with the symmetry of that. The same office that's about to cash in on Caitlin Clark in front of a national audience on Saturday is the office that, this week, declined to protect her. They'll happily put her face on the broadcast. They just won't lift a finger on a reviewable call that's stacking up against her, and they won't whistle the contact that's knocking her down. Protection costs them something. The broadcast pays them. They chose the broadcast. If you want to understand how deliberate that choice is, you have to look at a league that made the opposite one, on purpose. Go back to the NBA 2 decades ago. By the early 2000s, scoring had sunk to a decade's low. The games were getting ugly, defenders were allowed to put their hands on perimeter scorers and ride them up and down the floor, and the league's most marketable players, its guards, its stars, the faces it sold tickets on, were getting mugged every night without a whistle. Sound familiar? So, the NBA changed the rules. Before the next season, it cracked down on hand checking. Defenders could no longer ride and impede the scorers the league was built to sell. And almost overnight, the stars it wanted to protect took over. Scoring climbed. The guards everybody paid to watch got the room they needed. The league had looked at its most valuable assets, decided they were worth protecting, and changed the game to protect them. That's the whole point. A league protects the stars it decides are worth protecting. The NBA decided its scorers were worth it and rewrote enforcement to shield them. The WNBA, 2 days before putting Caitlin Clark on national television, looked at a reviewable call going against her and a non-call that knocked her down, and made the opposite decision. It let both stand. So here's the question I keep coming back to. Does the league that put Caitlin Clark on every marquee broadcast actually want to protect her, or does it just want to sell her? Because this week, those two things pointed in opposite directions, and we all watched which one the commissioner's office chose. Saturday's national game is coming either way. The only thing still in doubt is whether the player the whole thing was built around will be standing on the floor when it does.